Good morning. Welcome to Grammar and Writing Lesson 52. You guys are doing well as we get started with our vocabulary for today. We have a prefix focus today that is theo. Comes from the Greek word theos, and it means having to do with God or gods, false gods. So it's anything having to do with the deity. So it can be God, the one true God, or it can be false gods. Our first word is theocracy. Theocracy. Theocracy is the government of a state by a god or by officials thought to be divinely guided. And so if it's officials, if it's people who think that they have the divine appointment of God to be the people in charge, then we would call them theocrats. Theocrats. So the humans involved in this theocracy would be theocrats. One second. Okay. Sorry, I had to grab something. All right, an example is, was ancient Egypt a theocracy? That means was their government ruled by what they believed were gods, or were their rulers thought to be divinely appointed? That means that God is the one who gave them their power, or a false god. And that would be, yes, that's the kind of government that the Egyptians did indeed have. Theology, that's our next word, theology. So theology is the study of religious faith and practices, which you can probably get from the suffix ology. Remember, that's the study of something, and then theo being God, so like the study of God. So it's the study of religious faith and practices. For example, the seminary student took classes in theology. So he was studying religion. Theologian. Okay, so if theology is the study of religious faith and practices, what would theologian be? This is a person who specializes in religious knowledge. So a person who is studying religions, who is studying faith, that's a theologian. For example, some theologians are professors. Others might be pastors, scribes, things like that. Okay, let's fill in the blank with the correct vocabulary word. Number 1, the Greek prefix meaning God or gods is what? Number 2, Mr. Shyster, a blank, ruled his followers as though he were God. So what kind of a person would think that they were God if they are a ruler? Number 3, the blank spent several years in seminary. What kind of person would spend a long time in a seminary? A seminary is a place where you learn basically how to be a preacher. Oops. The rest of that sentence is, he spent several years in seminary learning about doctrinal issues. All right, and then Freddie read several books of the Old Testament for his blank class. Okay, let's check in on the answers. Number 1, the Greek prefix meaning God or gods is theo. Theo. Mr. Shyster, a theocrat, okay, not theocracy, but theocrat when referring to the person, remember, ruled his followers as though he were God. The theologian spent several years in seminary learning about doctrinal issues. Freddie read several books of the Old Testament for his theology class. Very good. Okay, one quick thing that I want to point out. On your homework sheet, it says that you need to be prepared for a vocabulary quiz tomorrow from weeks 1 through 3 of the second partial. I am canceling the vocab quiz, okay? There is no quiz tomorrow. Yay, happy days. You can do a happy dance, okay? So no vocabulary quiz tomorrow. You do not have to study for anything. It's not that it's being postponed. I'm just canceling it permanently. You will not have it. Woohoo! Okay, happy days. Moving on. Let's talk about italics and hyphens. Italics in handwritten work, we represent those with underlining. So when you put a line under words, that's when you're typing, instead of putting a line under it, you would use italics. So that's those slanted letters. So we use italics for the titles of books, plays, magazines, newspapers, works of art, ships, planes, trains, and spacecraft. All of those things need italics. For example, Lindbergh flew the Spirit of St. Louis. Spirit of St. Louis is the title of his plane. So because that's the title of his plane, I need to underline it. Spirit of St. Louis. Now, something I want to point out, we don't underline the, because that's not part of the name of the plane. Only Spirit of St. Louis. So the does not get underlined, just Spirit of St. Louis, the title of the particular plane. Just like with newspapers, if you have, for example, the News Journal. Well, the isn't part of the name. Actually, News Journal is the name. So you would not capitalize, or excuse me, you would not underline or italicize the in that title because it's not part of the title. The title is just News Journal. Okay. Now we're going to move on from italics and underlining. That was the only rule that we had. So yay, that's easy, right? Easy to remember. Hyphens, a hyphen is just a little mark like this, okay? And it's a raised mark. So it goes, in the middle of words like that. It's not down on the line, it's not up at the top, it's right in the middle. It's where your hyphen goes, okay? I'm going to erase this so that we're not confused about what's going on. So we use hyphens in words that must be divided at the end of a line. So we use hyphens mainly to divide things in our writing. So we divide, first of all, words that come at the end of a line. So maybe you're writing your report, writing, and you're writing, and you come towards the end of the line, but you think you can fit another word on there, but you're not really sure. Well, you can divide it by using a hyphen. That shows you that you've started the word on this line, and the rest of the word will appear on the next line. But there are some rules for this. You do not divide a one-syllable word. It's just, for example, the word north. That's one syllable. It's just north. It's not north. You can't put the first two letters of the word, then put a hyphen, and then put the last three letters on the next line. Nope. It's one syllable, so it has to all stay together. If there's not enough room to write the whole word north, then you have to write it on the next line. Divide only between syllables. For example, cowboy. Your syllables are cow and boy, not cowboy. Okay? So, excuse me. There you go, yawning in class. Sorry about that. So, your word is cowboy. Your syllables are cow and boy, so that's where you divide. Do not divide after a single letter. Okay, with the word abate. If you're writing, you come towards the end of the line, you cannot say, okay, well, I can't fit the whole word abate, but I can fit the A, and that's a syllable, and then bait is another syllable, so I'm dividing in between my syllables. Nope, not allowed, because that would leave you with only one letter on the top line, and that's not acceptable. Okay? Do not carry over a two-letter syllable. Okay? Carry over means to write it on the next line. When you come to the end of your line, you drop it down to the next line. So, for example, cousin. You can't divide cousin. It's just like a one-syllable word, because where you divide it, cuz, in. Well, the in, excuse me, is your other syllable, but it's only two letters. And according to our rules, we can't write two letters on the next line. Do a hyphenated word only at the hyphen. So divide a hyphenated word only at the hyphen. For example, self-reliant, not self-reliant. So see how self-reliant is divided right now? The word is self-reliant with a hyphen in between self and reliant, whether it's on one line or whether it's on two. And that's the only place that you can divide it is between the self and the reliant. If you can't, even if it looks like you can fit more parts of reliant on the line with self, unless you can fit the whole word reliant, it has to go on the next line. Okay, let's talk about more hyphens. Use a hyphen in numbers from 21 through 99, but not the tens, like 30, 40, 50, 60. So 32, we need a hyphen to divide the 30 and the 2. 55, again, we need a hyphen dividing the 50 and the 5. But 50 is just, woo, like this. 50. No hyphen, just the word. All right, we use a hyphen in fractions used as adjectives. So only when the fraction is an adjective. For example, 1/2 cup. Well, how much of a cup? 1/2 is describing the quantity of the cup. So that, since it's being used as a description, it's an adjective, so it needs a hyphen. 2/3 majority. Okay, so we have 2/3. That's telling us what kind of majority, how much in the majority. So it's describing majority, it's being used as an adjective, hyphen in between the 2 and the thirds. But 3/5 of the class. Here, 3/5 is not describing anything. It's actually acting as a noun. 3/5 of the class took the vote, or something like that. Who took the vote? Well, 3/5 took the vote. So it's acting as a noun. It does not have a hyphen. All right, so for your homework today, you're going to complete Language C, page 66. Everyone look at Language C for a minute with me, please. You need to read that think back box up at the top. It reminds you that when you underline the titles of books, put quotation marks around the titles of things within the book, such as chapters, poems, etc. Do not underline or put quotation marks around your own titles when you write them on your papers. So when you write a title on your own paper that you're going to turn into me, for example, all you do is write the title. You should center it unless you have other directions, but it does not need to be underlined or put quotation marks or anything like that. Okay? Also remember that with the Bible, even though the Bible is a book, it doesn't get punctuated like a book, or the chapters put in parentheses or anything like, or quotation marks, I mean, or anything like that. All right, so on page 66, Think B says, write the letter of the correct choice in the blank. So you have choices A and B. You need to decide which one uses the hyphen or the underlining correctly and put it on, put that choice in the blank. Think C says, add hyphens where needed, and 2, underline words that should be in italics. So if it's something that's like the title of a ship, plane, book, something like that, any title, go ahead and underline it. All right. If you have any questions, let me know. Have a great day, guys. Bye.